Reggie Miller, the Hall of Famer, Turner Sports NBA analyst, as the finals games will be on ABC. Who do you like in the series, Reg?
To me, it really will come down to Game 1. I know, obviously, it's a 7-game series, the first to win 4, but Game 1 is so important, in my opinion, to Toronto. If they win Game 1, I see this being a long series. If Golden State finds the way to get Game 1, this could be a gentleman's sweep in 5. And not knowing the availability of KD, I know he's been ruled out of Game 1. I'm just going to go on the record and say this. He is not playing in this series. And the only reason why I say that, if you look at that video of him walking to the plane, he still has a limp in that gait. And if you're expecting a player of Kevin Durant's caliber to play at such a high level, like, finals MVP like he was the last 2 years, that walk, that tells me he's not coming back. I could be very much wrong. I just don't see him coming back in this series. And I thought, truthfully, I think the Warriors caught a break by getting Toronto. I thought I had Milwaukee winning it all. They had more weapons. But what Kawhi has done, he was the best player in that series. I just didn't think he had enough weapons around him. Now, those guys made shots. Lowry, woke up. Van Vliet showed up in the series late after, games 3 through 6. But is that enough to beat Golden State? I don't know. Game 1, to me, will tell me everything I need to know about this series.
Have you had that injury before that KD has?
I've never had a calf injury. And Kevin Harlan and myself, we called that game. And as soon as it happened, I thought my first instinct was Achilles. Because the way he looked back at it, I thought it was his Achilles. Obviously, it came out that it was his calf. But I didn't know it would be this serious. I thought he would be back in that Portland series. And then for them to have, 10-plus days off after they swept Portland, and he's still not ready for Game 1. And then when I saw him walking to the plane, I'm like, he's not playing. Not with that walk, not with that limp. Again, I could be totally wrong. But I just do not see him coming back in the series.
Well, I don't see him playing the first 2 games in Toronto. I was surprised he went to Toronto. It feels like KD, that if he's going to play, they're going to try to bring him back when they lose a game. But if they lose Game 1, does KD play in Toronto? And I don't think that's going to be the case. It felt like in the Portland series, hey,
they didn't need him.
Yeah. But, are you going to need him in this series? If you win the first 2 games in Toronto, we may not see Kevin Durant the rest of this series, and maybe the last time we'll see him in a Golden State uniform. Doc Rivers had some interesting things to say about Kawhi. He said he's the most like Jordan that we've seen. Not that he is Jordan or anything like that, but he's the most like him. Big hands, post game, can finish, great leaper, great defender. He beats you to the spot, bumps you off, 3-point shooting as well. What do you make of that compliment by Doc Rivers, who might be his coach next season?
I concur, and I think Doc was listening to our telecast because I said that on air, that he was as close to Jordan. I guess you would put Kobe in that as well. And to me, please, people, understand what I'm saying here. It's not the leaping ability and the fadeaway that Jordan had, but being able to play, being a two-way player, and we talk about the big hands. If you watch the fundamentals of Kobe Bean Bryant and Kawhi Leonard, they are so fundamentally sound. And I'm talking about footwork. Both have impeccable footwork, especially in the post, on the perimeter. They both can take you off the bounce. And, Kawhi has that fadeaway, but it's the hands. He separates himself. When you come to double him, a lot like what Michael Jordan did, he would always attack the double with the guy that was coming down. And most of the time, the guys that were doubling MJ were the bigs. So he would attack the bigs. We call it attacking the double bigs. So the big would come down to double, and he would basically use the guy coming down to double as like a screener, a brush screen, to get his shot off. Kawhi does the same thing, almost in the same mannerism. So I understand what Doc is saying. I see it. I said that on air. Mm-hmm. People looked at me crazy, but I absolutely – but watch the footwork in the finals. Unbelievable footwork, a lot like Kobe Bean.
Steph is the Vegas favorite to win the Finals MVP. If I gave you Steph Curry or the field, who you taking?
I am taking Steph Curry. And if Kevin Durant does not come back, obviously if Golden State wins, I'm taking – because you could have made a case last year for him to win Finals MVP. I know the first year was definitely Kevin Durant, but you could have gone back and forth between that Finals MVP between Steph and KD. KD ended up winning to win back-to-back Finals MVP. But if the Golden State Warriors win and what he's done the last 6 games without KD – the only thing that could be a wrinkle in this, there's been a lot of time off for Golden State. And the whole adage of rust versus rest, I think, will play a factor here, especially for a shooter. For a shooter, you want to keep your rhythm. You want to just keep it going. If you're Steve Kerr in Golden State, you wish you could have played, 2 or 3 days later. But they've been off, 10-plus days. And as a shooter, your mind drifts. You can go through all the drills you want, but you've got to have that game-time rhythm. So that could be the only thing in Game 1 that may throw him off. He'll eventually get that rhythm, but I like Vegas odds, and I would go with Steph as well.
Talking to
the Warriors win.
Talking to Reggie Miller, the Hall of Famer, Turner Sports NBA analyst. The first free agent to announce where he's going will be who?
I would probably say Kyrie Irving. It just did not end well in Boston, right?
Yeah.
All season long, the body language, the moodiness, not on Kyrie's part, but all of the Celtics, something just did not feel right. And I would not be surprised. I know they've lifted it a day. Now it's June 30th, I believe, is when you can actually announce. I wouldn't be surprised if it's June 25th, Kyrie says, I'm a free agent, I'm going somewhere else.
Well, let me make you their agent. Like you're Kyrie's agent. Where would you advise him to go?
I could see him reteaming with LeBron in L.A. I really can.
Okay.
He made the experiment, and rightfully so. Every player has this right to do this. He wanted to see if he could lead a team, be the man, be top dog. It didn't work out, and I love Kyrie. I was lights and Uncle Drew. But in my opinion, Kyrie could be one of the greatest Scottie Pippins ever to a Michael Jordan. He is that good. I just don't think he's that number one.
But if I put Kyrie with LeBron and I brought in Jimmy Butler,
I like him.
Now what do I have with the Lakers?
You have a top 4 team that can compete. You have a top 4 team in the West. Can they win it all? I mean, things have to happen. You got to have breaks. Injuries can happen. But I like that team.
But are you trading anybody?
And I'm keeping Kyle Kuzma. Of all the Lakers, I'm keeping Kyle Kuzma.
Okay.
You can get rid of everyone else.
Yeah, but I don't think that works that way, Reg. Because if I'm going to
you asked me. I'm telling you.
If I'm making
you drop everyone else off at LAX, and you can pack their bags for them. As long as they keep Kyle Kuzma, I'm all right with that.
Okay, you're advising Kevin Durant.
See, I think the injury helps Golden State because if they go on to win and three-peat without KD, I think he comes back, maybe signs another one-year deal and has a chance to go for a four-peat, something Michael Jordan never did. Now you're in the same breath with the 60s and the Celtics of total domination. I think if he would have been playing and they wanted to repeat, he was gone regardless.
But, Reg, why don't I just say, hey, KD, thank you, and then I let him go, and I bring in somebody who wants to be there for 3 or 4 years or 5 years, and I pay them the money, and I got somebody who actually wants to be there, and then there's no games. I don't have to deal with any drama. And as great as KD is, we just won the title without him.
What do you think is going to happen if KD leaves and Kawhi Leonard comes to Golden State?
Wait, and Kawhi goes to Golden State?
Have you not thought of...
Oh, yes, I have. I said that yesterday.
What would people think if Kawhi Leonard... Hey, because you know what? If I'm Kawhi, I go to Masai Ujiri, the general manager, and said, I did something that Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, DeMar DeRozan, Chris Bosh, Damon Stoudemire, no one's ever done. two things that will be known for the Raptors: that shot in the corner, the four-toucher, touch me in the morning, and getting to the NBA Finals. Win or lose, I think he goes to him and says, I did my job. Thank you very much. I'm out. And if KD decides he doesn't want to re-up in Golden State, would you not be surprised? Doesn't his mannerisms fit Golden State?
Well, I'm also wondering, because I said this, just because if Golden State loses Kevin Durant, they're not going to sit there and mope. They're going to go. They're going to go out and get. They went out and got Boogie Cousins and surprised everybody. They're not going to just sit there and go, "Oh, woe is me. We lost KD." They're going to be like, anybody else want to play fast-paced tempo with two of the greatest shooters of all time and Hall of Fame coach?
Hey, Clay has a decision as well. I mean, him not making All-NBA and not getting the Supermax, which I felt he should have been on an All-NBA team, but I get it.
But who would you take off, though?
Supermax player.
Are you taking him, Kemba, off?
I would not be surprised if Clay bounces. If they win,
okay.
all predicated if they win.
Okay, let's say they win. Let's say they win. What is Golden State? What's Golden State look like next year, in your opinion?
Well, you know they have Steph. I think they may get Boogie at a bargain basement because of the injury. And then after that, again, I think the injury helps them with Kevin Durant, especially if they win. If they win, I think he comes back 1 year, let's go for a four-peat. Now we're in the same breath as the Celtics. We will leapfrog the Bulls winning 4 in a row. I think they go after that.
I don't think you want to wait and go to like the Knicks 1 year after that when somebody's already made it.
The Knicks lost everything when they didn't get the number 1 pick in Zion Williamson.
You don't think KD's going to the Knicks?
No, not now. I don't. I think everything was set up. Number 1 pick, Zion Williamson, KD, maybe Kyrie.
Okay.
But when the Knicks fell to 3, no. I just don't. The roster is set up. Why go there and struggle? Winning is a drug. He is addicted now to winning and being in it. Why go to the Knicks? And as sensitive as KD can be at times, with Golden State's media, could you imagine going to New York and that New York media and you have 1, 2, maybe 3 bad games, what they're going to say? Stay where you are. Get a chance to go for a four-peat if they win this year.
How do you think Magic has handled the Lakers situation since he stepped down?
Well, I knew the backstabbing and the character assassination would come out sooner or later. You know, coming out that he mistreated employees, which I think that article does a disservice to the Lakers because I don't want to hear some staffer. I want to hear names, okay? Is this a staffer that was already fired or a staffer that's still working for the Lakers? Because if he's still working for the Lakers, you have a snitch in your organization. So for them to come out and say Magic was mistreating the employees, you could talk about his X's and O's, who he drafted, not surrounding LeBron with shooters. I get all that. That's part of his job description. But to go after a guy's character and then you don't put names behind it, but you say Magic Johnson this, Magic Johnson that, and I talk to a staffer, no, I don't want to hear it. I want names. Who said that about Magic in the front office? Okay? Because that person needs to be held accountable as well. So where's Jeannie Buss in all this, right? The whole Rob Pelinka not being able to trust, I can see that. People not trusting Rob Pelinka. I can see what Magic said about I can see that. Being in it and kind of knowing Rob, I can see it.
Well, what do you mean?
But I can see Rob saying stuff about Magic, being a backstabber. I can understand that. If Magic said that, because Magic is a straight shooter, right?
But are you basing it off experience?
I'm basing it off. I know Magic, and the one thing that I've known about him from my freshman year at UCLA, he has never, ever lied to me. Now, he's never sugarcoated anything. He's told me when things have been good, and he's told me when things have been awfully bad. He's been brutally honest with me, along with Michael Cooper, along with Byron Scott. Those guys raised me at UCLA. So when he says that Rob was backstabbing, I'm going to tend to believe that. When he is holding staffers or people in the front office accountable and he's giving them tough talk and they don't like it, I tend to believe that he's being a straight shooter. So, yeah, that's when I say about Rob Pelinka and other people around the league don't trust him. I can see that.
Yeah, the only thing is that, these voices, and they're just voices, they're not names, is, they feel like if their names are mentioned or they put their jobs in jeopardy or nobody listened to them because it's Magic Johnson. Like, I understand those who don't want to come forward with their name attached to it because, this is Magic, and it's still Magic.
Coward way out.
Yeah.
Coward way. I don't want to hear us. Look, if you're brave enough to speak to a reporter, put your name to it. Put your name to it. You can't just say Magic Johnson and that's it. I get what people are frustrated with Magic because, on the flip side, Magic never should have done that press conference. Magic never should have went and just straight said, "I'm out." He should have went to Jeannie and he is a smart, astute businessman. If someone would have done this in one of his businesses, he would have been outraged.
Well, they shouldn't have hired him in the first place, though, Reg.
I'm not letting Magic off the hook here.
Yeah.
What I'm upset about is you can't go after someone's character and not put your name behind it.
Okay.
And the Lakers have someone in their organization who's continuing to talk. That's the problem with the Lakers. And this is going to hurt them in free agency. Because who do you trust? Who is the hierarchy there? I'm not hearing anything from Jeannie Buss.
Yeah, that's part of the problem.
Right.
There's no leader. There's no leader, Reg. That's the problem.
Is it Kurt Rambis? Is it Linda Rambis? I mean, who's running things?
You done?
I am. It just ticks me off when I saw that. I knew it was going to come out that people were going to bad talk Magic, bad talk him about his decisions, about him drafting, about him not. Talk about the X's and O's. Don't talk about him mistreating employees. Come on, man. Don't start that. Put your name behind it, and then I'll be like, okay, all right. Such and such said this. Now what?
Thank you, Reg.
I love you, Theodore. Theodore, what was on your? Did you get a sunburn over Memorial Day? What was that on your chest, by the way? What was that?
I was going to a sporting event. I was painting my stomach, and then I was going to put a D. I was going to the New Jersey Devils game, and I was just going to put a D on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. I was a little fan. Okay, I get it.
Do you get sunburn?
Come on. I got the best skin possible. Black don't crack, and we bronze.
Oh, you bronze?
We don't like him. I bronze.
Is that what it is?
Bronze.
Yeah, I burn. I burn, baby.
Yeah, I don't burn. I bronze.
Burn, baby, burn. Thank you, Reg.
Theodore, you're the best. I cannot wait for next week so we can see what's going on in this series.
Thank you, bud. That's Reggie Aloysius Miller Jr. III.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune into Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV. Stream for free on BR Live or download the Dan Patrick Show app.